Esta es nuestra número 11, nuestro video número 11. Yes. And this time, esta vez no tenemos a Gabriel, pero esperemos que pronto se una con nosotros de nuevo, right?
Yes, please come back next time. We miss you.
Yes. And well, this time, esta vez vamos a hablar sobre los cazafantasmas, o como en algún momento lo dije, de los Ghostbusters. Y bueno, estaba recordando que el año pasado estuvimos en Mérida, en Campeche, y ha sido súper rápido todo este tiempo. ¿Y por qué me estaba acordando de los Ghostbusters? Porque también en agosto estaba con Kevin en Carolina del Sur, hicimos una plática, we were together, yes, we were there, estábamos ahí en Carolina del Sur, y bueno, pues también estábamos hablando un poco sobre esta parte de los Ghostbusters, ¿no? So, Kevin, let's talk about these movies. I was so little when these movies came out, and when I wasn't even born. I was very
You liked it before you were born?
No, I mean, what I wanted to say is that I was very little when I saw them for the first time.
Okay.
And I was really a fan of Pegajoso, which is the name in Spanish. And in English is, like you said, Slimer, but originally,
and just to preface this a little bit, I worked on Ghostbusters. I didn't work the whole movie through, but I did a few things on it, and I was in and out. But we called him Onion Head.
Okay.
In the script, it referred to that green ghost. His name was Onion Head.
Okay.
And it wasn't until later there was a cartoon show, a Saturday morning cartoon show of Ghostbusters, and they called him Slimer in that. And so that, because he didn't have a name in Ghostbusters, they never mention it on screen. It's only in the script. We all called him Onion Head, but everybody else in the world now calls him Slimer.
Do you know, like, the particular, like, why it was Onion Head? It was because, like, it has, like, layers, or?
No, just because it was this round, blobby thing that didn't have any legs, and it was just like they could have called him Potato Head or something, but in the script it was just Onion Head. And so we did, he didn't look anything really like an onion, but that was just his name. He was just this weird, round, blobby guy.
Okay. And so now that we are already with Slimer, like, the way to do it, like to produce or to create it, was like sculpted. And then what material did they use, like, to do the full? It was a puppet?
It was well, there were several different sizes, from a full size that was a big suit, and his arms were a guy's hands in foam latex gloves. And I remember I sculpted the gloves, and it was a big foam latex body. It was a clay sculpture. There were several that had different expressions on them. And it was just a big foam suit that actually two people got into. And Steve Johnson was running the creature shop at Boss Films then. And he came up with the idea of, instead of a hard mechanism inside, like in a gorilla mask, or like the alien, or like any kind of typical werewolf, any kind of typical creature mask, there's a hard, like a fiberglass mechanism that pieces move and things like that. This was just going to be this big blobby shape. So it was one guy inside named Mark Wilson who worked the hands and was like the main movement of Onion Head. And there was another second guy inside that he could make the mouth move all around. And they shot it in front of a black background, and they dressed in black, and it was on a rotating platform so that it could move around, and then they would just composite that into the film and make him zoom all around the place. He'd just be flying through the air.
Okay.
And sort of transparent looking, because he was a ghost, and they would add like animated effects to him and all. And then there were some little guys. I think there was one like about that big that they shot in front of a screen, and then I think they see him like flying around a chandelier light on the ceiling, and I think that was that little guy. So it was basically just a big suit.
Wow.
Like part suit, part puppet.
What I really love about Ghostbusters is that it even for nowadays, an original story. It's an original thing.
Right.
It's at some point maybe one can say like, nah, it's just like some strange words, like put it all together and trying to say that it's a ghost, or the why of we can see ghosts, or why ghosts exist in this movie. But actually, even with that, you can say that it's a really nice story. I didn't know until now that the story was made or created by like the two of the real actors of the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it was Dan Aykroyd mostly, and Harold Ramis, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's also a really nice thing because they are into the character. They know all about it. No, they can perform it because they know what they want to say, what they want to communicate. So that's also very very good thing.
And on that, the one thing that they weren't sure of, when I remember going in there at the beginning, and it wasn't called Ghostbusters yet because they weren't sure if it was going to be Ghost Blasters or Ghost Smashers or Ghost. They weren't. They wanted it to be Ghostbusters, but in the mid 1970s, there was a Saturday morning live action kids TV show called Ghostbusters, and it was about these two guys and a gorilla, and they go and find ghosts, and they have like a gun that shoots them and makes the ghost go away. Then they had to deal with that company to get the rights to use the name Ghostbusters for their movie. So it was up in the air a little bit at the beginning of what it was going to be called. In fact, I think on YouTube there might be like early promos that they were doing where the Ghostbusters are standing there and they call it different things, like call Ghostbusters, and then they do it again. It's like call Ghost Smashers or whatever, you know. Because they didn't know what eventually it was going to be, so they just tried out these different names just in case.
Yeah, and
they had options.
That sentence just became so popular. Like, who you gonna call? God.
Right. Well, it was the theme song too, which people complained it was too close to a Huey Lewis song, but it became very popular. And yeah, I mean, it was just this big hit when it came out. You know,
it's as popular for Halloween as maybe Thriller.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it just made me think. It's like I've worked on all these different things that have become kind of iconic over the years.
Do you exactly? What was the thing you worked on? Like
well,
in
on
particular?
Thriller and on Ghostbusters.
But in Ghostbusters.
Oh, I did his onion heads or Slimer's hands. And then I did some sculpting on the body, one of the bodies, but just a little bit. Like I said, I wasn't there a whole lot. I would go back and just hang out and visit, and sometimes I would do work. There's another shot where when everything's going crazy towards the end, there's a ghost that looks almost like a fish, sort of, comes up out of the subway. Okay. And he's got these little spindly, like skeletal arms, and I sculpted those, and they had to fit onto the little body, and just armature wire with clay over it, and everything was then molded and cast up, and it was a little puppet shot in front of a blue screen or black background, whatever, and composited into the New York City shots.
Yeah.
I don't remember what else I did on that. That might have been all I did. I know at one point because I had done a lot of creature suit performing, that they asked if I wanted to be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the end.
Yeah.
And I should have done it because, it became such a big hit and I could say I was the Marshmallow Man. But it's like at the time, I was the American werewolf, and I was like these gorillas and things, and it just didn't seem that sexy to be a marshmallow man,
But after it became also like very iconic, like a lot of movies or whatever shows, they have references about these marshmallow men. And now,
Right.
and like even they in a lot of the interviews or shows, they said
Uh,
like in the beginning or in the first place, they were like, nah, this is not like a maybe a good idea, it's like dumb. But then when they filmed it,
mm,
they actually saw that it was like, oh, a cool idea, and that people accepted it really really well.
and well, that was just one of many bad choices I've made over the years. I remember like around the same time, I got a call to do a sculpture for a movie. They were going to make a little stop motion puppet for a character, and I went over and looked at the designs. And I was offered something else at the time. I forget what it was, but it's like, well, let me come over and take a look. And it was like a skeleton, like a human skeleton, but all made of metal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to be like about that tall, and they were going to cast it and make it into an animated puppet. And it's like, that doesn't look like very much fun to sculpt. It looked like very difficult, and it's like to sculpt machinery instead of something organic. And it's like, I don't know, I'll take the other thing. And it was the Terminator. So it's like, again,
Yeah, well, we don't have like this crystal ball that it will tell us about the future, so
no.
it happens, no?
But
Like,
yeah, it would have been a nice credit, but
yeah.
oh well.
Well, but anyways, you have the one here for Los Ghostbusters.
Uh-huh.
And Kevin, I love like all the like the designs of the ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly when I saw again the because now that I saw them again, like I said before, I saw them when I was a very little girl, and when I was little girl, I was like, like I didn't know exactly what I was watching at the moment, but now that
Right.
I saw them this second time, it's like I liked when they are in the library
Mm-hmm.
and the ghost like it's how do you
The
say like
librarian,
yeah,
and
and she's
she's
reading.
floating.
Yeah, she's floating, she's reading, and then suddenly she turns and
Right.
she goes like this really ugly, I don't know
Right.
what that
Yeah.
is, like demon or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That is like kind of like the same, they did it kind of like the same way like with Slimer.
No, this time there were two versions. One was just an actress
Okay.
wearing kind of ghostly makeup, and they filmed her on the set. When she confronts them, when she turns around and she changes, that was a puppet. So it was a mold, like a life cast of her, that was then instead of the normal way when you do a life cast and you cast it up out of stone, out of ultracal, or out of fiberglass, or out of resin or something, you can melt down plastiline clay and pour it into the alginate, let it cool off, and then you open it up and you have a clay copy of the actor's head. And so what they did then was they sculpted the eyes open and cleaned it up and got rid of any bald cap lines, things like that, basically making a clay duplicate of the actress. Then a big two-piece mold off of that, and that was used to generate thin foam latex skins that would go onto a mechanism. If it's like anything, it would be like the Change-O heads in American Werewolf in London, that it was a skin over a mechanism that could change. This one, the jaw could open very wide, and I think it could extend out, and I think the brows came out too. And it had puppet arms on it as well. And I remember that the skin, the foam rubber, there were like razor cuts in it, so that when she opened her mouth, it could open abnormally wide and look scarier. So it started looking, like the actress wearing makeup, and then it could change more dramatically, so it could get like a really big open mouth to it.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that was all a puppet, like from the waist up with the
Yeah.
arms. There was nothing underneath. It was just like waist up.
Okay.
Hmm.
And just like for this, like this scene, which is very quickly, but you can see it.
Yeah, it's a great shot. I mean, it's fast and
Yes.
it never comes back. So there's a month or whatever of work for 1.5 seconds or something.
Yeah.
But it looks great.
Yes, it's a very nice design. I like it.
Yeah.
And the other ones that we have for this movie, I mean, I know we have some others, but like the masterpiece as well is the dogs.
The dogs were they were terror dogs
Terror
in
dogs.
the script, and so we were always terror dogs, and those were done by a bunch of people, but the person in charge of them was Randy Cook, Randall William Cook, and Randy was a stop motion animator, and he worked on a lot of cool different things. He did the stop motion in The Thing with the tentacles at the end. And then he later moved on to digital effects, and he worked on the original 3 Lord of the Rings movies. He's like 3-time Academy Award winner for those. But Randy was in charge of the terror dogs, and there were two terror dogs, but there were 2 versions of the terror dogs. That one was a big full size puppet that was operated from underneath to make the head. I forget exactly what it all did. The head moved, maybe the jaw could move. And then there was one about that big that was stop motion that Randy animated frame by frame. And then that was composited into the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they looked the same. It was just different scales and did different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those, so they were made of.
Well, the stop motion had a metal armature, metal skeleton inside that was posable, so you could do frame by frame.
Okay.
And his skin was all foam latex. It was just a clay sculpture, and then a multiple piece mold was made around the armature. Open that up, take all the clay out, close it up, and you inject foam into it, and then you bake it. And then when you open that up, you have a little terror dog with a skeleton inside.
Now that you are mentioned also the name and that we
Yeah.
are talking about this, when I saw the movie the other day, I remembered about, or I thought about Stranger Things,
Mhm.
which is as a very modern series, like, and they have a lot of references from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, they do.
And they call, you remember there are some dogs.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. I don't know why I felt like they kind of used the names of those dogs for Ghostbusters for the dog that shows it's like a big flower.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, they might have. I'd have to watch it again.
Yeah, now that and also like the kids liked Ghostbusters, they dress like them.
Yeah, because it takes place in like 1984, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like the movie had just come out and they loved it, and so they dress up like it.
Yeah, I thought about this, and the name of the dog. Maybe they used also this reference for the name of that dog.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
it made me think of that. Yeah. So, and for this the first movie of the Ghostbusters, I think those are the main.
Yeah, the main guys. I mean, there were like the Marshmallow Man had a big constructed suit, and I think Bill Bryant was inside the suit and put the suit together. He had a mechanical head that had a foam latex skin. It was a sculpture and then molded and cast. that it could. There were two different heads, I think, one with a big smile and then one with a frown. Mm-hmm. And then I think there were melting versions of it too, so there might have been a third one. But the suit, the body itself, I think was all constructed. Maybe the hands were sculpted, things like that. But I think the bulk of the body was kind of like we did the horns on the bastard guy. Bastard. Yeah, and then like a skin was put over the surface, just to save time and all that. What was it? Oh, there's a scene where Sigourney Weaver is sitting in a chair, and all these arms break out and grab her. And those were just different effects guys. We sculpted up gloves and put them on, and everyone was just hiding, and it would just have the hands come. And they were all just foam latex gloves.
Nice. Yeah, there are a lot of also, like, not particularly for special effects, but the sets that were built, like again for the marshmallow. Those are really nice.
I remember seeing that in person, where he's walking down. The Marshmallow Man is walking down. I forget what street in New York it is, but it's actually just this huge miniature was built. Excellent. And I love that kind of stuff. That's what was interesting at when I worked at Boss Films and when I worked up at ILM, the George Lucas company, was I always loved looking at the miniatures and spaceships and that sort of stuff. So I was always interested in that. And maybe just a little information on that. The Ghostbusters was done at Boss Films in Marina Del Rey, California. Okay. And they mostly did miniatures for movies, spaceships and buildings. They did, Blade Runner and Die Hard, when they're building a big explosion on the building. And at one point, they were the main competition with ILM, the George Lucas company. That George Lucas, up at ILM, they did all the spaceships and opticals and miniatures and stuff like that, and all the creatures in-house. And so Boss Films wanted to compete with Lucas, so they started up a creature part of their company too. And Richard Edlund was the guy who ran Boss Films, and he hired Steve Johnson to head up the creature department. And so there we were. I think Ghostbusters might have been the first creature job at ILM. I mean, at Boss Films.
Okay.
I think it was, because then we went on to do like Lost Boys and we started Lost Boys and we started Predator, but we didn't finish it. But we did Fright Night there and Poltergeist 2 and Solar Babies and a bunch of different things in the creature shop. So Big Trouble in Little China we did there.
Yes.
Which was so much fun.
Yes, and also the movie, it's so weird and funny.
Yeah, it's one of those where I've worked on two movies over the years where I was very proud to be a part of it. And when they came out, they were terrible flops, just very disappointing. They didn't make any money. John Carpenter's The Thing and John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. But over the years, they've become these cult classic movies, that everybody knows and everybody likes. So that's cool. I mean, there was some redemption years later.
Because sometimes in that moment people doesn't see it, and then like you said, like through the time, now you can see like all the work that it's involved in that. So that's also what makes it or turns it, like you said, like a very important movie, like a very important piece for the special effects, for the industry, like, so it's just something that happens in that moment. It's like, that's probably just something normal, no?
Yeah. I mean, The Thing came out when E.T. came out, and E.T. was a big hit, and I guess people didn't want to see like a mean, scary alien. They were into the happy alien. And when Big Trouble in Little China came out, I think it was just so strange that it just, people didn't understand it, didn't get what it was supposed to be, and flopped. And it wasn't until cable TV over the years of HBO or Showtime or whatever it was playing on cable that people saw it like over and over, and it's like it just became like a cult movie. Both of them did. Yeah. But yeah, Ghostbusters was a big hit right off the bat when that came out. It was very, very successful.
Yeah, very successful, but also it's like it had parts of it that it wasn't that they weren't sure if it was going to be successful. So it's a little bit what we are talking about with the other movies,
right?
No?
Well, nobody, as much as you think people in Hollywood know what they're doing, they don't know what they're doing. So no one can really predict if something's going to be successful or not. Yeah. It's just, kind of a gamble every time when a movie comes out.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, let's keep talking about the character. Well, not the characters, but the elements in the movie.
Okay.
That
all right.
are well here. I think for the first movie, I think that's all. But then we have the second movie. No.
Yes.
Which
Los Ghostbusters 2.
Sí, exactamente. So we have again Sigourney Weaver, and it makes us think that she had a boy with Venkman,
yeah. Bill Murray's character.
Yeah, Bill Murray's, but no, it's not him.
Right.
It's not his. And then suddenly, like the first effect, I think it's with the one with the X.
Oh yeah.
No?
Yeah.
The X start like to blow, and
which I think was just compressed air underneath it, maybe shooting something up like a BB or something. But they just all start to explode.
That's like the first one, and then we have the one where she opens the fridge, and she finds like this crazy woman or whatever it is inside. And
yeah, I mean they added some more stuff. I guess they wanted it to be, well, they just wanted more stuff in the second one, because they added in the courtroom, the trial, the ghosts of the two guys that were killed in the electric chairs back in the 20s or whatever, and those were big suits with big mechanical heads. That were, I guess, suspended on wires, and photographed, and then they could composite those into the sequence. And those were all done by Tim Lawrence. Up at, I think the second one they went to ILM and did those. And they redid the Onion Head, the Slimer. But it was more of a traditional mechanism inside, as opposed to the first one. I don't like it as much. I like the first one, the look of it and just the movement that it has, more than the second one.
Was there any particular reason that they
I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know why they redesigned it so that it looked like Slimer's cousin or something. It didn't. I mean, you knew it was supposed to be him, but I don't know. Like, I don't understand why they didn't make it just look like the first one. Because it looks very different. It almost has a head and a body, where the first one was just like a big blob. But I don't know.
Okay. I was
maybe because it was a different company, because it was ILM. It's like, we're going to make ours look different than Boss Films.
Claro.
Yeah.
That must have been because of that. Probably, yes. No, I was gonna say that for people that is watching us, and I don't know, but I feel like saying that, I don't know, but it's like, for me, when I see the movies from back then, I sometimes forget that what I see was actually there. They had to build it to film it.
Right.
No, because nowadays we are very used to see things that they didn't even existed like physically. They just maybe like have 3D modeling digitally, no?
Right.
And that's something that like we have to have in our heads, like in our minds, like it's there.
Yeah, anything in the movie that you saw had to be built and physically manipulated in front of the camera, to capture it. It's not like today that mostly everything is digital, and
Yeah.
the only thing that ever exists of it is maybe like some reference models, things like that. But the actual effect that's in the final finished product in the movie itself is a completely digital construction.
Yeah.
So back then, if you needed an onion head flying around, it's like you had to make an onion head suit, and film it.
Or like you said, like the brothers in the electric chairs, they had to be built
Right.
to be there in the movie, no?
Right. Which is cool. I mean, that's obviously was my world. That's what I grew up with. And so I prefer that anyways. But I always liked to think that, at some point in the past, King Kong, there actually was a King Kong this tall in a little jungle with a little dinosaur back in 1933, and they had to animate him, and he really existed, in his little world,
Yeah.
I just thought that was cool.
It's something that I wanted to say, because like sometimes we forget it. We are so used now with the modern movies, like to just they can be done with the computer, and they don't need to be physically done. But yeah, that's so different.
Well, yeah, and that's an excellent point, and it's something to keep in mind for anyone who's going to go back and watch these movies, or any kind of classic movies, to appreciate what was done. That it's like you actually had to. Now you can do anything. It doesn't really matter, because you could do it in a computer. If you needed a certain look to a creature or an alien, something like that, it's like, yeah, no problem. But back then, if you had to hang someone off a wire, or film them underwater or whatever, you actually had to go do that, figure it out.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Yes, exactly.
Because it was from basically Jurassic Park onwards, from '93 on, that it's like computers had gotten, and computer digital effects had gotten so good that it's like, okay, we could just do this with the computer. Which for us, watching Jurassic Park, it was a combination of Stan Winston's big animatronics and the digital stuff, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. And then it kind of dawns on you that it's like, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And so a lot of effects guys like Randy Cook, switched over to computer effects, because it's like that's the way of the future. If you want to keep working that level of special effects, you switch over to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and so we have what was the last one we said?
Was
I forgot it.
The two brothers, but
sí,
there's also the Statue of Liberty.
Sí, claro.
Yeah, where they are able to use the Statue of Liberty almost as a big robot that can walk through the city to fight with them. And that was just a suit, not an actor.
Wow.
Yeah.
It at a point, I thought it was like a guy with a makeup, like a character makeup, and they did like a detail like shot, and then the other things were probably a suit, because it is like so well done that the face, it just felt it for me like it was like a real face, like they just did a makeup on it.
I'd have to see it again. I haven't seen that one for a long time, but yeah, okay.
But I don't know. Like I don't know if they mixed probably they mixed like a shot there, and then probably they did also like a suit.
Yeah, it could be a combination of a bunch of different things. But I guess they wanted a giant thing at the end of their movie. Like the Marshmallow Man was in the first one. It's like, what are we going to do in this one? It's like, Statue of Liberty comes to life. You know?
But for me, the good one is the first one.
Oh, yeah. I think it's funnier, and it's, not all... The sequels, for the most part, aren't... you're not going to get Godfather 2 level in sequels most of the time,
Yes, I really, really loved the first one. I enjoyed the second one, and I had also like a lot of memories from the second one, like with the painting and the
right.
Like all of that. I remembered it. I didn't have like a lot of memories from the first one, so when I saw it again, like I'm gonna say, like I saw it for the first time again. It was so nice, and I could actually feel in my heart that I love the first one.
Oh, good.
Kevin, I don't know if you want to share some other story or memory or.
Yeah, well, I mean, you made me think. It's just crazy to me to think that was 36 years ago. 36 was Ghostbusters working on that when it seems like a while ago, but then it doesn't seem that long. And to actually think that it's 36 years, it's like, that's crazy. But I'd also like to say I was only 2 years old when I worked on that movie. So I was very talented.
You were a very prodigious boy.
Yes.
Yes, well, actually, you were young. It's like you were very young when you started working for those movies. We were talking about this with Gabriel the other day. Like when you worked for Werewolf, the crew was so young, like around 20s.
To all us guys back then, and the women too. I mean, we were all in our like early 20s, like 19, 20, 21 years old, like that. On Werewolf, Rick I think he was 28, and he was like the old man, and it's like, to us, how when you're young, the age seems like more dramatic, like an age difference, that you look back now and it's like, what's the difference between 22 and 28? It's like nothing.
Nothing.
But when you're 22, it's like, wow, he's 28, man. He's all grown up and old. But yeah, we were all just kids working on those things.
Nice. Okay.
I remember going to the wrap party for Ghostbusters.
Woo!
Down in I don't know if it was in Malibu. It was down at the ocean off Pacific Palisade or Pacific Coast Highway. I remember people smashing bottles on the floor. Everyone was going crazy. It was the 80s.
They were eating the marshmallow guy arm, like.
Yeah. And then we were. I think we were talking about Poltergeist 2. We were going to start on Poltergeist 2. That it came up at the party. I think that's what it was. But yeah, I remember going for that, and yeah, they were fun times. And it's crazy. I mean, just that era of the early, like late 70s, early 80s, well, all through the 80s, but especially the early mid 80s, were so many shows going on that you just ended up working on The Howling and American Werewolf and Videodrome and The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China and Poltergeist 2 and going up to ILM and working on a Star Wars thing and then going back down to LA, and it was just like so much stuff going on, that it was hard not to work on all those movies, if you were doing this kind of thing. You just ended up on all these big things that have become so famous over the years.
Yeah.
Before it all like switched to digital, and I mean there were still makeups being done and prosthetics being done and that kind of thing. It's just not to the level that it was, but there's certainly it's not gone 100%.
No.
There's still beautiful stuff being made. You look at the engineers in the Alien in Was it, which were they in Prometheus or
For the no, it's Prometheus.
what's the other?
Yeah,
Okay,
Prometheus.
the big silicone guys. I mean, those are great. All you see the prosthetics on.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's not 100% gone, but like when like you
Like
said,
all the-
no, it's you have to mix like with Jurassic Park. Like now, maybe from that point, people
Right.
people in the industry notice that they can't live probably one without the other.
And that's the best way to do it. It's like, Game of Thrones is what I was going to say. There's so many prosthetics on that. But if you look at like The Strain, those makeups are a combination of like 99% prosthetics, but there's some digital in there, either to take out remove the nose, or to add the tongue, which would be difficult to have it be that energetic, and have it be an animatronic piece.
Okay.
Because they whip out so fast. It's hard to control.
Yeah.
There are ways to do it, but when you blend them together, or even like Blade 2 with the jaws that open on the makeups, that kind of stuff, because Del Toro knows it's like a good combination. Even like all his stuff, like the fawn makeup and costume with we could just give him those animal legs and just green screen out the actor's legs, So you could do amazing things and combine them, and you have the reality of a physical presence of a prosthetic, or a costume or something, but you could change it enough, with a digital assist, that it's like, well, how could that be? Like, how could his legs be like that? What is that thing? It's like, no, there's a guy in a suit, but we were able to remove his legs, his human legs. So, yeah, and I guess I haven't seen all of the newest Ghostbusters, the one that was like the all-female one, but I assume everything was digital in that one. I don't know.
I saw, because we were going to talk about this, I saw the one with the girls. Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry, but I have to say it, awful.
I saw,
and
maybe
they used
the
again
last...
the marshmallow.
They did what?
They used again the marshmallow. It's not marshmallow, but it's a balloon. It's a big balloon of the marshmallow. It's like, get your own monster, get your own creature. It's like, why again?
Didn't they have like a female onion head, or like a Slimer?
They have the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw like the last 20 minutes of it or something when it was on HBO. And it was, I mean, that's not a good way to see a movie, is to come in at the last 20 minutes. But there was just like nothing appealing about it. There was nothing funny. The performances I thought were really annoying. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed very derivative of the other ones. And like you said, the first one especially. And then studios, the way studios are, that they can never admit making a mistake. Like when we were talking about Predator, that it's like, people don't want to see an all female cast, of Ghostbusters, and they had a prejudice against that, and it's like, no, people have a prejudice against bad movies.
See,
yeah, that's why it wasn't a big success, because it wasn't very good.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have a new story. It could have been also like a very good movie with whatever gender,
why not?
but the story has to be good.
Well, yeah, I mean, and just to make up excuses like that, it's like, who do they think they are? The president? That's what he does.
Yeah. No, but no, I again, like the number one is the best one.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I remember in the 90s when the Godzilla remake came out with Matthew Broderick. Mm-hmm. And that didn't do as well as they expected. And then they had the remake of Mighty Joe Young came out and Rick did the gorillas in that. And that didn't do well at all. And the studios go, well, people don't want to see the giant monster movies anymore. And it's like, no, those movies sucked. That's why. It's not because there's a giant monster in it. It's like, well, I don't want it. Why did I come in here if there's a giant monster? I wasn't expecting that. It's, you made a bad movie.
Yeah.
You know, two bad movies. But there is now another Ghostbusters, right?
It hasn't come out yet. I think it's gonna be for 2021.
Everything is.
Yeah. But yes, it's like about the grandson of one of the Ghostbusters. He finds like the thing that they carry,
right?
And he finds the catcher. I don't know what's the name of that in English.
Yeah.
And they also find the Ecto one.
Yeah, the car. That's right. I've seen the teaser where the car drives. They find it in a barn or something.
See.
I remember seeing the proton packs. I think they were called. I remember we had to go at Boss Films. We were putting things into storage. They had like a warehouse, and all their stuff went in there, and the proton packs were in there. So we were like, you know, it's like, hey, Ghostbusters. We were like the kids in Stranger Things.
And was it heavy?
No, I don't remember it being heavy at all.
Okay, so in the movie they are just acting like they are heavy, because I remember all the time when they put it on, it's like, oh man, these things are heavy.
Well, yeah, because it was like supposed to be like a nuclear generator, something inside, you know. So they're like, yeah, but yeah, you don't actually want to make, you know, something that weighs, you know, 100 pounds on an actor, you know, it'd be falling over.
Of course.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, trying to think of what else. Like I said, I mean, the rest of it was just all the optical effects that they used that Boss Films created. Like going back to the first one, like all the stuff in the sky and over the building. Yeah, I remember the girl with the terror dogs. I remember that. I guess I was on set. I must have been on set to see the terror dogs. Yeah, I was, because I remember that the dog is in Sigourney Weaver's apartment at one point. Yeah, I remember being there for that. Maybe I puppeteered on it, or I was just visiting or something.
You were just visiting the garden?
No, I mean just hanging out with the guys. I don't remember if I puppeteered on that one, but I remember being there. I don't know why I'd be there without working. But I don't know. Like I was only 2. I can't remember.
Yeah, of course. No, you were very young. You couldn't even talk.
I could barely speak, and I was always taking naps. So.
I get it.
Yeah, I'd be crying all the time.
Yeah, asking for food. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, like I was saying, it was a really fun movie to work on. It was a fun time, you know, just going from one job to another. It was cool. It was challenging, you know, because a lot of the stuff hadn't been done before, you know, but there's, you know, some clever people involved, and yeah, it was just cool to be around and be part of. I hear you. I think your house is haunted.
Yes, my house is haunted. I'm so sorry for the people.
I could hear screaming ghosts.
Ugly ghosts.
Ugly?
I'm gonna regret that after. Okay, Kevin. Well, because of my ghosts, I think we have to finish it here.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much for sharing again. And yeah.
We'll be back next week with I don't know what. We haven't decided yet.
Let's keep it a surprise.
And then in 2 weeks we know what we're going to do in 2 weeks, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because next week, okay, keep a surprise because
no,
I don't know.
I think it's more like
it will be a surprise to me.
Okay, you will have the surprise, and then in 2 weeks we have like something we've been saving for this particular day.
Yes, it's something else that had coming up on a pretty nice anniversary for it, and yeah. So stay tuned. Come back, please. Come back and join us.
And don't forget to subscribe our channel, YouTube channel.
Yes. Listen to her. Do whatever she said.
Okay, Kevin. Well, let's
All
see
right,
let's see ourselves for the next one.
Yes.
I send you a big hug. And
You too.
Adios, Kevin.
Adios. Goodbye, everybody.